Okay, Anthony is asking a very reasonable question, which is, why would you do the Bernoulli trick instead of variation of parameters? Like, just why would you do this at all? Like, why is this a thing worth having in my brain, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason that this is worth having in your brain is that it shouldn't be explicitly obvious that variation of parameters works. So the Bernoulli, like the knowing the Bernoulli trick, are you thinking of?
Like the B equals 1 minus 1 minus 1.
So are you thinking of
Yeah.
this thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So as it turns out, I would say to you there is not a huge advantage in knowing that. I would say those are different techniques, and doing it either way is reasonable. The reason that I have this in my head with Bernoulli equations is that I didn't used to teach variation of parameters this early. I used to reserve that for further on in the book. And so I used to teach a slightly different technique for solving non-homogeneous equations. And the Bernoulli trick was a little like a subset of that that's different, right? And the way that this book approaches variation of parameters earlier makes using variation of parameters instead of the Bernoulli trick much more efficient. So I would say do this because you know variation of parameters. Like, this is going to be the good way. And the Bernoulli trick now in your mind could boil down to, hey, variation of parameters works with Bernoulli equations, so I'll just use it.
Could we, like, with the Bernoulli trick, could we, like, dodge some, like, really gross integration or something, possibly? Because you turn it, like, to a linear thing, and,
You'll have to end up doing a little variation of parameters because of the way you guys have learned to solve non-homogeneous linear equations anyway. So if you're going to use variation of parameters at some point anyhow, you may as well just start out with that, and it'll make your life a little easier. So modifying my earliest statements about this, I would say you should just remember variation of parameters and remember that that applies to Bernoulli things. And that will be easier than the classical approach. Cool? Is that kind of?
Yeah.